This week on Wilderness Systems Kayak Bassin', Chad Hoover is heading to Madison, Alabama to fish some remote backwaters. But before heading out, Chad and fellow hook oneer Sean McClendon are making an early morning trip to explore a new lake in town. Sandwiched between two highways and with steep banks on all sides, it's the perfect place to drag kayaks in and catch them where others can't.
Not bad.
Well, it's a little bitty dude, but there's life in here. It's a good sign. I generally find that old soccer balls on the bank are a good indication of fish holding structure. Ooh, that's another good sign. Look at that. Let me show you a little tip about crappie that'll tell you where you're at in the feeding cycle. So basically, this is gonna sound a little gross, but when your crappie have any butthole, they just started feeding. So when that anal spot, that red spot right there, when it's tucked inside, like in any belly button, you're in the beginning of the feeding cycle and they don't have that paunch yet. Once that butt is poked out, or it's like an outie belly button, then you're further along in the feeding cycle and the fish are generally gonna start slowing down. Well, guys, I'll tell you what, we're gonna pull out here and head to another spot. You know, sometimes you hit pay dirt and sometimes you just get dirty trying to get back into some of these places. There's definitely potential here. I had water up to 27 feet deep, lots of activity, lots of bait fish. We didn't get the big fish. Ran into a guy fishing out of a float tube. They caught one about 5.5 pounds. So the only way to get into places like this is either with the float tube, a small kayak, or you know what we're doing now, dragging our kayaks into here. So, you know, that's part of the fun, this urban, you know, back roads, backwoods fishing. Sometimes you kill them, sometimes you don't. You always learn something. We're definitely gonna keep this one on the list to come back and try. Maybe when the system's a little more stable, the water's warmed up a little bit, there's a little more surface vegetation. This place looks really good for frog fishing. So we'll come back after the water temps come up about 10 degrees. This part of it, you gotta put the work in, drag your boats around, find these cool spots, and if nothing else, you have a great day on the water.
Welcome back to Wilderness Systems Kayak Bassin'. This week, Chad Hoover is joining local angler Shane Phillips in Huntsville, Alabama for another backwoods kayak fishing adventure. With a few friends along for the ride, Chad and Shane are exploring the back creeks of the Whaler River.
So here we are, guys. We've already probed back about a mile from the launch. You know, today I'm fishing with a good friend of mine named Shane Phillips. Shane's a customer at Hook One. Again, it's one of the things we say, you come in a customer, you leave a friend. We hit it off. I did a boat for him and his girlfriend, and those guys are eat up with kayak fishing. He called me up in that Alabama draw and said, dude, you gotta get down here. They are hammering it. And you know, that's all it takes for me. You know, dinner bells and the big bass are hitting is all it needs, and I come running. Hey Shane, is this those big bass you're telling me about?
Yeah. I'm telling you, Photoshop works good, don't it?
Might start to have to be a little suspect of all them pictures he's been showing me. I guess he is about 145 pounds. Ain't easy to make a fish look big like that. I gotta catch a 17 pounder. You like that little rod holder trick, don't you?
You don't even know. not very good friends with gators or snakes.
What y'all usually do when y'all see one?
What, some gators?
Yeah.
Run like hell.
I almost feel like a punk right now. I'm out here using this power pole and just grinding through these stumps, and everybody else is fighting the wind. But it doesn't matter what the conditions are. One of the great things about the power pole or any anchoring system is that when you're using a bait that has drag, like a crankbait or a buzz bait or a spinner bait, if you want to work the area effectively, anchored in position keeps the kayak from being drawn in. When it comes to fishing in tough conditions, there's probably no better piece of equipment you can have on your boat than this micro anchor from Power Pole. You know, another kind of unintended advantage of the Power Pole is that when you're fishing from a kayak, you've got your torso that's sticking up, and you've also got rods that are sticking up behind you. And you invariably, on windy days when you're trying to drift a particular area and use some search patterns like a crankbait or a spinnerbait, buzzbait, the rod sticking up behind you and your torso tends to make you want to weather vane and spin around backwards. So one of the cool things that I've started to do is just to drop my power pole down a couple of feet. That creates enough drag behind the kayak and resistance that it just makes you track straight along with the wind. And if you want to fish a particular depth, you can get in a spot that's deeper than that. You can drop your pole down, look back, verify your depth, and you can just drift in. And when you hit that depth, the pole will catch, it'll hold you in place, fan cast the area, raise it up, and you can incrementally work your way in. Just a very effective tool for managing boat position and effectively establishing patterns and dialing in where the fish are.
I'm about to start singing songs if we don't start catching some.
I love these outflows, these little runouts like this. It's a steady stream of sucking stuff out, and insects, crustaceans, minnows, all kinds of stuff just get washed through there. It's like a conveyor belt for food. And right now what we've got is the water's coming out and still in a little circle eddy. That circle eddy is right over the top of a treetop. And so everything that comes out of there that's small is going to get washed out, is going to pull up in that tree for a reprieve. And there's big predatory fish staged up in there to make sure they don't get it. And they're starting to bump that spinnerbait. All right, so throughout the course of this episode, you're going to hear Shane giving me grief over why he doesn't have a power pole.
If I had a power pole, I'd stop right here, right now. Said if I had a power pole, I wouldn't be over here hunting fish in the trees.
The reason that he doesn't have a power pole is because, you know, I'm fortunate to be one of the first people in the country to get it, and the demand has been so overwhelming that they're selling out before we even get them in stock. So he was up at the shop when he picked up his Ride 115 and saw the power pole and was like, oh yeah, I've got to have one of those. And unfortunately we didn't get enough in stock that weren't already pre-sold before I came down for this trip. So I think he's reminded me a few times though today that he wants one, so we'll put his name on the list and he'll get one in the next batch coming out.
If I'd had a power pole, that wouldn't have happened. It's all Chad's fault.
Stay tuned for lots more kayak bass fishing action as things get interesting for the guys when they find themselves a little too close to some big Alabama gators.
Yeah, Shane, that's a big lizard right there.
Welcome back to Wilderness Systems Kayak Bassin'. This week, Chad Hoover is exploring the back creeks of Alabama's Whaler River with Shane Phillips.
All right, so what we're doing is we're making a move. There was this little creek, we caught 4 or 5 bass in there. where the water's running out. So obviously that begs the question, where's the water running out from? So I got up and walked the berm, and there's this little isolated lake back here. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard something.
That was that gator coming off the bank.
You're a brave man.
It's a big one. So for the most part, in my experience, anytime you find big gators, you have a really good chance of finding big bass, so it was worth the move. Shane was a little hesitant, to be honest with you, to come over here into what he called Lake Placid, but hopefully it holds a big old bass. We're gonna get back in here and find out.
He says we're good. We're about to launch into a little side pond that's overflowing, not with water, but with a 12-foot alligator. And they say we ain't living life on the edge. They crazy. I'm glad I got my new wilderness system ride, 115, stable as can be. Can't beat it, man.
Well, there's definitely bass back here. I don't think y'all got crocodiles down here.
Man, no, they put these gators in here.
Really?
Yeah. Don't ask me why, but they did. That's why they're protected. The thing is, they're protected, but we're not.
Hey Shane, look at this. I'm taking a gator for a walk. He's got a frog sitting on top of his head.
He said, you think it's funny now, but I'm about to eat you.
That gator right there must be one of them Roll Tide fans, because it ain't very smart.
Hey Chad, why didn't you wrestle that gator?
He wasn't set up right, or I would have.
Hey, real man go here right at the nose. I'd have done it, but my fingers hurting a little bit. I jammed it the other day, trying to get my lure out of the daggone tree.
I saw this carp over there finning. And a lot of times bass will get right behind them carp as they're finning and gobble up what they scare up. Sure enough, he popped that frog. Well guys, we dragged the kayaks over into this little pond. We found a few bass. In fact, I rookied up and lost a good one. But there's more gators in here than there are bass now, and we've had a little bit of fun with them. We're gonna drag the kayaks back out of here, trying to find another backwoods pond in search of that Bama bucket mouth. So we'll be right back with more kayak bass fishing action.
Welcome back to Wilderness Systems Kayak Bassin'. This week, Chad Hoover is exploring the gator-filled waters of Alabama's Whaler River with local angler Shane Phillips.
There he is.
There you go, baby. She's a pig. I ain't gonna say nothing about that. I blame it on the camera, because there he is. There she is right there. Same one, probably. Man. Hey Chad, the one you just lost, here she is, baby. You gonna come hold her and kiss
I think the one I just lost could eat that one.
her? Wearing them out.
Golly.
There's another one in there.
Y'all have a lot of snakes back in here?
Yeah.
What do you do to contend with them?
What I do, contend with them or to get rid of them? I don't play nice with a snake.
You know you're in big bass country when there's big old gators laying on the bank.
I'm glad you said something, because I did not even see it. What do you think, 8 foot?
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave him alone, all right? All right, now we're gonna dive.
Fish on. I told you there's bass where gators are. Oh! That was a good one too.
Got him. Woo. About fell in. A good one. Well, the evening set's finally on. Still fishing with my 5/16 spinner bait. Get that big fish. He's a happy camper. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Come here, baby. See, if I had a power pole, I would not be in the trees right now.
Well, guys, thanks for joining me on this episode for my favorite kind of fishing, backwoods, backwaters adventures. I gotta thank Shane and Dustin and Marcus for helping me out, and Sean McClendon from Hook One for helping me explore some of those spots where you find those giants. You know, it's still early in the season. We haven't caught the big ones, but getting out here early before the grass comes up, getting out here ahead of time before there's a bunch of boat traffic, getting out here before everybody else is doing it is the best way to find where those big girls lay and go back there later and capitalize on the work that you put in on trips like this. Caught a lot of fish, had a lot of fun, told a lot of stories. Didn't get the monster we were looking for, but that doesn't matter because we saw some gators, saw some cool stuff, some possums, some coons, some river otters. This is why I love to fish from a kayak. And I'll tell you what, I think if you'll add fishing from a kayak to your outdoors adventures, it'll be a more rewarding experience than anything else you've ever done. Hey, we'll see you next week for more kayak bass fishing action. Until then, get out there and try to find them in the backwaters.